Janet with Paper and Spark here. I am the creator of the Amazon Seller Spreadsheet that you can see here, and welcome to the video tutorial series of this spreadsheet. In this video, I'm going to walk you through just a little introduction of getting to know how your spreadsheet works, so you can see what it's all about. So first, let's talk about what you get with your purchase of the Amazon Seller Spreadsheet. You are going to get at least one spreadsheet file for the current year. Right now I'm showing 2020 on the screen, but it may be whatever year you're working in. And know that if you need any future years or past years, those are also available to you for free. You don't need to repurchase this spreadsheet every year. That being said, it's important to use the correct file for whatever year you're trying to do your books for, because the spreadsheet itself uses dated formulas. So you don't want to try and use the spreadsheet with the 2020 file name with 2019 transactions or anything that doesn't match like that. You want to use the correct version for whatever year you're working with. Your spreadsheet also comes with these PDF instructions, which will walk you through how to use the spreadsheet pretty much step by step. Very similar to what we're going to talk about in the video series. I just think that usually it's more helpful for you to see the spreadsheet in action on video format, but know that you have the PDF guide here as well if you need a refresh. If you ever have trouble accessing what you've purchased, like maybe you need to re-download the PDF, or maybe you need to grab a prior year or a future year file of the spreadsheet, you can always log into your account at paperandspark.com. And once you're logged into your account, you can just click on memberships and click the view button next to any spreadsheet file you're trying to access. Right here, it's the Etsy one, but pretend that says Amazon. And then you click the view button one more time, and that will take you to the membership page for whatever you have purchased. And you should see files here for the PDF instructions, for different years of the Amazon seller spreadsheet, and also the video tutorials. Again, I'm looking at the Etsy seller spreadsheet in this example, but it's very similar for the Amazon one. If you don't have an account at paperandspark.com, maybe you just like on Etsy, or if you log into your account and you don't see a membership page for Amazon, just send us an email at support@paperandspark.com and we'll get you set up on the site so that you can have access to what you want to have access to. So you can use a spreadsheet file that you've purchased in one of these forms of spreadsheet software. We've got Excel, which you can use on a Windows computer or on a Mac. Numbers, which is the default spreadsheet software that comes with most Mac computers, Apple products, or Google Sheets. And Google Sheets is a great free spreadsheet software that comes free with any Gmail or Google account. That is web-based, whereas the first two are software that you actually download on your computer. So if you're using anything other than one of those three options, just know that I haven't actually tested the seller spreadsheet in anything other than those three options. So I can't say with 100% certainty that everything is going to work the exact same in those versions. I would suggest trying to use Excel, Numbers, or Google Sheets. You're going to see in these video tutorials that I'm using Excel on an Apple computer. So know that if you're opening this in something other than that, it may look slightly different. I know, like for example, in Numbers, the tabs are going to be across the top instead of across the bottom like you'll see here in Excel. That's totally fine. Most things are just cosmetic differences, and I'll note if there are ever any circumstances where you need to actually do anything differently based on what software you're using. A few notes on spreadsheet terminology, just in case you get confused by something I'm referring to in a future video. I've already said this one. These little buttons along the bottom of your spreadsheet are tabs. So every tab takes you to a different sheet in your overall spreadsheet. So you might hear me referring to the tabs, which will be along the bottom or the top. That's how you navigate from tab to tab. You just click it. We've also got rows. So rows are pretty self-explanatory. It's the long vertical rows of your spreadsheet that I'm highlighting here. We've got individual cells within a row that you may be clicking on cell by cell, and then we've got columns, and that is just the horizontal column along the top of any sheet in your spreadsheet. So we've got tabs, rows, columns, and cells. And let's talk real quick about this monthly summary tab. This is like the heart and soul of your Amazon seller spreadsheet. This is where you're going to be able to see at a glance what's going on with the financial health of your Amazon shop. So first up top, we've got the revenue section. Revenue basically means your sales for bookkeeping and for tax purposes. Now, we're going to cover in a future video how to import in your Amazon CSV. And from importing in that Amazon CSV each month to your spreadsheet, you're going to quickly import a bunch of different stuff, including all these Amazon revenue numbers and these Amazon fees related numbers. So that quick import will populate a bunch of content right here directly on your monthly summary tab, because there are built-in formulas that are going to do that number crunching for you. So in the revenue section, you're going to see your Amazon sales, some sales tax collected. It's going to subtract out your Amazon refunds. It's going to add in shipping and gift wrap credits, because that's part of your revenue too. It may subtract out any promotional rebates you or Amazon offered, and then you'll also see FBA inventory adjustments. I'm going to cover all of these things like one by one in the import video itself, but just know that that's what's going to happen. You also have these 3 customizable revenue rows here, and this is where you can rename them to be something else. If you have revenue or sales from any sources outside of Amazon. So you're going to be able to quickly import in your Amazon stuff when you copy and paste that CSV, but you may also have sales other than those, right? So you can still manually enter in those sales right here directly on your monthly summary tab. The next section we have are all of your expenses, and I've broken that up into 3 categories for you. So first we have selling expenses, and you'll be able to quickly import in all of your Amazon related selling expenses. We've got postage costs, which is not your Amazon shipping postage, because that's going to be automatically imported here on the Amazon shipping services. But if you ever pay out of pocket outside of Amazon for any sort of postage or shipping expenses, that will show up here. And then you've got, again, 3 customizable rows that you can rename for any other selling expenses here. So maybe you've got like PayPal expenses or Square fees or something if you are using other sources outside of Amazon. You're going to have your product expenses, and then some business expense categories as well, a few more customizable business expense lines or rows here, and then the spreadsheet will total up all of your expenses from all of this stuff on this total expense row. Finally, we're going to see your net profit or loss row, and that is simply the sum of your total revenue minus your total expenses. So if it's a positive number, that means you're doing well, you had more sales than expenses this month. If it's negative, that means you had a loss that month. But you'll always be able to know by looking at this row how your business is doing. You also have the year column, the annual column, where you're going to be able to see all the months summed up together to see how you're doing so far that year. And then if you scroll down a tiny bit, we've also got a few other things. This row will be automatically imported as well. It is how much Amazon is transferring out of like your Amazon seller account to your actual bank account. So this is how much you're getting paid from Amazon. That is considered a transfer. It's not revenue to you because the revenue is actually reported up here. This is just how much is getting transferred out once Amazon takes their cut and all those fees out. It's how much they're transferring over to your personal or business bank account. Finally, I recently added in these marketplace facilitator sales tax stuff. This is automatically going to populate when you import in your CSV as well, and I'm going to talk about that more in the sales tax video. So this is how the monthly summary tab is going to work. Let me briefly talk about these expense category tabs down here. So if you have, for example, an advertising expense, like you paid for a Facebook ad maybe, you actually don't want to type anything onto this purple cell itself, all right? It's the spreadsheet in Excel at least is going to tell you can't do that. And that's because all of these color rows have built-in formulas looking at some other tab on the spreadsheet. That is what these color expense tabs are for. So you are going to use these expense category tabs to enter anything related to that expense category. So if I had a Facebook ad expense, I would go to my advertising tab, enter a date for it, enter the amount of the expense and the vendor, and I might put some descriptive information, the payment source, anything else that I want to track related to that, like, that doesn't make sense for January, but you know what I mean. And once I enter it on the individual expense tab, it's going to show up in the applicable month and the applicable row of that expense. So you can use these expense category tabs to enter individual transactions, and the sum each month will travel over to your monthly summary tab. That works for everything except the custom expense rows, which is why these guys are white and you don't see any built-in formulas populating on them. These are the ones that you can rename and then enter an expense directly on the file itself. So that's how these guys work. Next, we're going to have two state-related tabs. We've got a sales tax one, and I'll talk about these in depth in the sales tax video. But this is going to populate some sales tax and some sales tax related information for you. The orange by state one is going to let you know your sales, your number of sales, and your dollar amount of sales by state if you are concerned with economic nexus. Again, more on that later. And then finally, we have the light blue monthly tabs. This is where you will actually be importing in your Amazon CSV each month, which we'll cover in the next video. But that's what these guys are for. They're for copying and pasting your CSVs. That is how the spreadsheet works in a nutshell. For actual step-by-step tutorials on how to do your books each month, let's move on to the next video.